welcome to ELA Grade 6 for the week of April 27th, 2020. You have been reading narratives that contain characters who change in some way. In Lesson 1 for this week, you chose a character from one of the narrative texts that you read in the unit, and you showed how this character changes over the course of the text. You will write a motivational speech from the perspective of your chosen character. Your speech will center around some of the character's life experiences that cause the change in your character in order to deliver a motivational message to others. This is the fun part, where you get your ideas down in some way. It is your chance to be creative. This is your first draft of your speech. Hopefully, some of you have already completed this part, which is Lesson 1. The second part is revision. This happens in Lesson 2 and will be the focus of this segment. Follow along while I read this quote by Kelly Barnhill. Kelly is a popular American author of children's books. So here's what she has to say about revision. That's the magic of revisions. Every cut is necessary and every cut hurts, but something new always grows. What is Barnhill saying about the power of revision here? In my thinking, she is saying that revision is hard to do, but well worth it, because your writing ends up being so much better. You're able to better share ideas with your audience. Many times when we write something, especially for an assignment, we think we're finished with the writing process. But revision may be the most important part of the writing process of all. Here are some steps in that process that we will consider. Organize. This is very critical. Are the thoughts and ideas presented in a logical way that will make sense to your audience? Along with organizing thoughts, here are some other questions that you would want to consider. Do you have a strong introduction? Does your introduction grab the attention of your audience? Do you have a clear conclusion? Have you wrapped up the topic of your speech and provided a motivational message that your character shares? So organization is really, really important and probably a big piece and the most challenging of the writing revision process. The next step is called a reread. I highly recommend this. Read your draft aloud to a parent or member of your household, or have one of them read it aloud to you. Often this is the best way to hear errors that you have in your speech, and it makes it easier for you to correct them. Next, look at word choice. Are there some words that could be replaced that will provide your audience with a better description? And following that, sentences. Could your sentences be improved upon? Are there any run-on sentences? Or should words and/or phrases be added to strengthen your writing? And then consider your title. Does it really fit with your topic? Maybe it's fine, but it is worth your attention to review. And finally, we go into editing. That's after we've done all the other revision pieces. So then we look at spelling, punctuation, and grammar. And sometimes all of these work together, especially if you have a solid first draft or you're working on a second draft. So we are going to be going through a sample of a motivational speech by Maxwell Cain, a character in Freak the Mighty, who changes as a result of his friendship with Freak, or Kevin, which is his real name. You have a copy of the revised final draft of this speech in your packet. You will notice some parts have been left out of our revision process piece for the sake of time. So let's try it. I'm going to try to model. We're going to have to go through this rather quickly, and I'm not very good at using this stylus, so bear with me. I'll do the best I can. I think I need a little more practice, but let's see. Here goes. Max Cain, finding the mighty in Freak. Imagine that your grandparents are afraid of you. Oh, they take care of you, but they never really love you. But you understand why. They are afraid of that. You will try to kill them one day because your father killed their daughter, your mother, and imagine the issues you would grow up to have living in this situation. So, the piece that I see here is that there's a little period in the wrong place. So, I'm just going to circle that to remind me to fix that. And this is the introduction. So, this is also part of organization. I think that this is a very good introductory paragraph. It makes me really wonder. It grabs my attention right away, especially when there's a murder involved. On to the second piece. It was during middle school that my friendship with Freak, I mean Kevin, began. At first, I didn't know what to make of him. He was a little strange. He was very small and bent up looking. He walked with crutches and there was braces on his legs. So I don't want that in there. Hold on. Okay, it shouldn't be was braces. It should be were braces. He used really big words when he talked, and sometimes I had no idea what language he was actually speaking. He made up crazy stories about quests and secret labs where bionic body parts were being made for him. He was a freak for sure, but I liked him. He was an outcast like me. And I think I might combine those two sentences. So let's see. Right here. But I liked him and he was an outcast like me. I warned you, I'm not real good at this yet. So we'll insert and here and make this one sentence. Third paragraph. These were the early years of my life progressed. That doesn't make any sense. These were the early years of, maybe we need to add the word how in here. All right, what do you think? How does that sound? Better? These were the early years of how my life progressed. I went to school and lived through the LD classes where I had been placed. My grades weren't great, and I didn't have any real friends to talk to during the day. Other kids made fun of me because of my size and learning problems, and because my dad, who everyone knew, was in jail. When I got home, I would head to my bedroom and stay there hiding from the world. Right here, I am feeling that I want to know more about his bedroom because in the book, his bedroom's in the basement and it's very dark. So I might want to add the word dark to that. Well, I think I'll know that that's the word dark. Okay. So, and again, in thinking of organization here, I am feeling like the third paragraph really belongs after the introduction because I'm thinking they're talking about his early life and what his situation was, and then it describes jumps to middle school. So that doesn't flow. We need to go, I think we need to move this one up here that describe more of the early part of his life. Next, the most important time in my life was the day when Freak and I went to the mill pond to see the fireworks. This was the first time my grandparents let me go alone. It was the first time Freak and I became one. I lifted him up to see the fireworks without thinking and set him on my shoulders. Freak had a great view of the fireworks from there, but he also helped us to escape from bullies who were after us. From his vantage point, he yelled at me which way to turn through the crowd so we could get away from them. But that's a whole other story. After that night, it felt normal to have him on my shoulders. We formed an awesome team of Freak the Mighty. And I am thinking that I want another word in here. To be more descriptive, I would like to add the word weaving through the crowd because I'm sure they were dodging the bullies. So that makes it more descriptive. And I'll know what that means. Last paragraph here. That day was the first day I lifted Freak on my shoulders, and it were the moment that my life changed forever. Okay, that's changing tenses. Were the moment should be was. Freak literally became the brains of the Freak Mighty team, and I was the body. It felt good to have a purpose in life. I protected Freak with my strength, and he protected me with his brains. Before Freak, I thought that I was pretty dumb. Once the team of Freak the Mighty was born, I was moved out of the LD classes and into the regular classes because Freak refused to go anywhere without me. My confidence began to grow, and I opened up a little more. Freak the Mighty had many adventures together, and we both found acceptance with each other. All right, I mean that's pretty good. We corrected, excuse me, the was problem. And I have another problem with this word. I was the body. That doesn't describe well enough how strong he was. So I'm thinking a word I might want to put there is brawn. Braun. I think that gives a better description of what his role really was in their adventures. All right, getting toward the end here. Hanging with Freak helped me realize that I have value. I is a good person and I can accomplish great things. Well, we know right now that that is not right. I is a good person. What you guys know, I can't hear you, but should be am, right? It also helped me be a better reader and writer. I was able to write a book about our adventures. Putting Freak on my shoulders was the best thing I could have done to change my life. The funny thing is that although I was carrying him, he was carrying me. Are you or someone you know struggling with feelings of self doubt and low self esteem? Please learn a lesson from my story. Everyone has worth and value. Everyone has a tribulation to make in this world. It's just that sometimes it takes something a little freaky to help us find out our might. Thank you. All right, tribulation does not fit here. I think he means to say contribution. All right, that's a little long. So sorry. I promise I will try to get better with this. All right, so then again, in thinking of the organization piece, this seems to be a pretty strong conclusion. He's wrapping up and telling, everything that he's talked about here that he wants you to know, that his message is, if you're struggling with these things, you still have worth and value. All right. Very good. You did it. You've walked through the revision and editing process. You are now ready to revise your speech with the tools used in the revision process. Review the final draft of the sample motivational speech. That will help you a lot to guide you to see something that's very well written. Okay. Use the chart of the 4 basic ways authors revise their work and the revision checklist, both of which are included in your packet, along with your planning notes and your first draft as you revise and edit. Next time, you will be reading two poems by very famous poets, and you will be working on a personal narrative. So I think that you will be pleased to do that. And until then, stay strong, stay well, and have a great week. Bye bye now.
Hello, and welcome to the week of April 27th, 2020 for Grade 6 GT. In this lesson, you will be introduced to Shakespeare. If you don't know much about him, that's okay. I imagine that you have at least heard his name. Even though Shakespeare wrote his plays and poems 500 years ago, his work and his ideas are still all around us. You may not have noticed this, but you may start to notice it as you learn more and more about his famous plays. We will now examine some images and watch some videos. They are all making references to parts of plays that Shakespeare wrote. We call these references allusions to Shakespeare. You will see that Shakespeare has been used in many modern versions. The images and videos last about 11 to 12 minutes, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In the movie The Nightmare Before Christmas, Jack Skellington takes off his own head and imitates Hamlet talking to a skull he finds in a graveyard.
William Shakespeare.
Shakespeare!
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare! You've not experienced Shakespeare until you have read him in the original Klingon.
This is not Shakespeare.
Oh, I did Shakespeare in the park, Max. I got mugged.
It's been 400 years since Shakespeare's death, and all the world is still his stage, and we men and women merely his unwitting fans. Every single day, whether we know it or not, we use words and phrases that Shakespeare added to the English dictionary.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
8:30, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a wild goose chase over here at Nakatomi Plaza.
I was originally designed for assassination missions.
She was the oldest living Luther, and now she's dead as a doornail. Eyeball?
Shakespeare, it turns out, isn't just a literary titan, he's a literary termite.
Avenge me!
Burrowing into all sorts of places you wouldn't expect. Chewbacca isn't just grieving the severed head of his buddy. It's actually a nod to Hamlet.
Alas, poor Yorick.
Alas, poor Yorick.
That line and that skull have been cropping up ever since. There are more than 400 movies based on Shakespeare's plays, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, more than any other author in history. Romeo and Juliet alone has been staged for the screen over 50 times.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo. Wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Even if you don't think you know Shakespeare, you know that balcony.
When I first saw you, Romeo, oh Romeo.
Of course, there's the most famous Shakespearean line of all.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
It's actually a speech about suicide, not a topic you typically hear about on Sesame Street.
Be or not a bee?
Or Gilligan's Island.
And so I asked to be or not to be.
Or a Muppet Hospital.
Make up your mind, to be or not to be.
Or an alien space station.
To be or not to be.
Of course, it's not just classic lines and scenes that inject Shakespeare into our daily lives. His stories are driving the plots behind some of the biggest series on television. House of Cards, the tale of a power couple with vaulting ambitions, sounds a lot like Macbeth, with a dash of in-your-face confessionals from Richard III.
One heartbeat away from the presidency, not a single vote cast in my name.
Sons of Anarchy, a saga about the leader of a biker gang haunted by the death of his father and power-hungry stepfather, has been called Hamlet on Harleys. In Empire, a record mogul has 3 children vying to inherit his hip-hop kingdom.
And it can only be one of
A
you.
situation that goes nearly as badly for him as it did for King Lear.
Wherefore art thou, Romeo?
And it's not just culture, It's commerce.
Thou betrayest thy family's cell phone plan.
Shakespeare may be 400 years gone, but he's in high demand on Madison Avenue.
William Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage, and men and women are merely players.
And one man in his time plays many parts. Many more parts than Shakespeare himself could have ever guessed.
Hey, Shakespeare, would you write a TV sitcom for a Klondike bar?
Methinks not.
What you talking about, Willie?
But soft, what light through yonder window breaks?
Romeo, oh Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Next season, we're doing Cats.
Or might I suggest Hamlet?
Shakespearean actor.
Thank you, my dear. Please take these free tickets to my play.
What play?
We thespians believe it's bad luck to mention the name of this particular play out loud.
You mean Macbeth?
Quiet, you blundering fool! You'll curse us all!
What, by saying Macbeth?
Stop saying it!
Saying what?
Macbeth! Now I've said it.
Oh, this is cool. Macbeth, Macbeth! Bart, stop saying Macbeth! Mom, you said Macbeth.
Mr. Macbeth, I'm really sorry.
That's quite all right. You didn't know. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a performance to give.
Good luck!
It's bad luck to say that, too!
Hey, Shakespeare, would you write a TV sitcom for a Klondike bar?
Methinks not.
It's got rich vanilla ice cream and chocolatey coating.
For that chocolatey coated ice cream loaded big and thick, no room for a stick.
Enter precocious punk.
What you talking about, Willie?
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Red gnomes and blue gnomes have been enemies forever.
On your mark!
Come on, Romeo.
Romeo!
Juliet, I just wanted to see you again.
I'm gonna need you to cover. If my dad asks, just tell him I'm washing my hair. Take care! I tell your dad to do your hair!
Mess with our garden, will ya?
From Shrek 2 director Callie Asbury, and featuring the classic music of Elton John.
Swim away. Be free. Thank you. Oh.
If you seek adventure,
Attack! Stealth is my middle name.
Ooh, you look like a fun guy.
if you believe in destiny,
Call me.
let's split up. Experience Shakespeare's legendary tale
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
as you've never seen it before.
This mission is gonna require maximum stealth.
Well, you won't get much stealthier than this.
Hello!
Romeo and Juliet.
I can't go.
I know how you feel.
No, really. I'm stuck.
Must cost plenty to heat this pile of rocks. Yeah. Oh, yeah? Well, top that, Lula Bridget. Yoo-hoo! Granny! Here I am! And here I come! We women drivers, I had the silly thing in reverse. No. Goodbye. Good grief. Good riddance. Hark! What light through yonder window breaks? 'Tis the east, and Juliet is the sun. Juliet? Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Herefore I ought. Well, don't just stand there like a ninny. Come on up. No, I art bashful. You come down, I'll catch you. As you like it. Butterfingers. Bye-bye.
Hopefully you enjoyed the clips and gained some insights into information as to the allusions to Shakespeare in our pop culture. Think about it. It is all around us. So is it still relevant? In upcoming lessons, we will be exploring Shakespeare's plays, poems, and the language from his time period of 500 years ago. We will work to answer these essential questions throughout the upcoming lessons. 1. How is the experience of reading Shakespeare different from viewing Shakespeare performed? And 2. How are Shakespeare's language and themes still relevant today? Consider the examples of allusion from the pop culture images and videos you viewed. How is Shakespeare still relevant today? Here are some examples of allusion. The second is specific to Romeo and Juliet, one of Shakespeare's most famous plays. He's such a Romeo, always around girls. It's a very common phrase that we use today. So share your thoughts with a friend or family member. Explain to them what you learned about Shakespeare today. Coming up next week we will examine some primary documents from Shakespeare's time and analyze the language from that time period in history. This is referred to as the historical approach to literary criticism. That's it for today. I hope you stay well, stay strong, and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye-bye now.